All right, folks. What's up? I hope you had a good start to the week. Happy Monday, I suppose. Not much to say this Monday, or I guess there is, but I guess I'll try to keep it relatively short. After another gut-wrenching loss, their second in as many games to start the season, Notre Dame finds itself with an 0-2 record, or number 21 ranking in the latest AP poll, which came out yesterday afternoon, Sunday. And on a personal note, and I'm sure many can relate, not a great sports weekend for me, with the Irish going down late Saturday and then the New York Giants giving me false hope once again in a soul-crushing overtime loss to the Dallas Cowboys. Brennan Aubrey kicking a 64-yard field goal to tie the game and send it to OT, and the Giants lose. I'm sure Adriana's going to have you covered on Giants' latest this week, so be sure to check that out on Fan Arch if you're a big Blue fan. Just a devastating 2 days and gut punches from a football perspective for me. But as far as the Irish are concerned, they're probably fortunate to still be in the poll, considering how awful they've looked in certain spots, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. More on that in a minute. And while the 0-2 start is horrendous, and now downs Marcus Freeman's record in home openers to 1-3 in his fourth season as head coach, with that lone win coming over Tennessee State a couple years ago, the nails are not completely in the coffin from a college football player perspective. You're going to need to win out, and you need help. We can cross that bridge when we hopefully get there, at least. There are still going to be opportunities on the schedule to pick up quality wins. Arkansas, who I think looked much better than most thought Saturday night against Ole Miss. USC, who just knocked off this week's opponent in Purdue. And then you got Boise State, Navy, and Syracuse will probably throw their own their best haymakers at you and give you formidable fights of their own. Now the Irish have to buckle down. The talent is there, but the mistakes, the miscues, the penalties, and just miscommunication needs to come to an end. You could see the look on Marcus Freeman's face Saturday night. And yes, he's the leader of the pack. I get it. This is not excusing him. But you have a coaching staff with plans in place for a reason. You're supposed to trust them. I mean, sometimes it just goes beyond that, doesn't it? There just seems to be a disconnect within the coaching staff right now, and it's bleeding onto the field. While 2 losses to top 10 teams, now top 10 teams, by a combined total of 4 points certainly aren't anything to be embarrassed about. Some of the reasons as to why the Irish are 0-2, quite honestly, are embarrassing. Clean them up, win games, and the picture should become a bit clearer as we go. Stay the course. It'll be a long season. 21 in the poll, 0-2, heading into their third game of the season. And again, a big reason for that is the defense. And you think of staying the course or not staying the course. Notre Dame's defense has been the storyline here, and not for good reasons, right? All the talent has allowed a total of 68 points across 2 games to start the season, while the pass coverage has basically been non-existent. Now, while injuries to Carson Hobbs, Devontae Smith, Christian Gray, and Leonard Moore at times throughout the game Saturday, coupled with a targeting call on your captain, Adon Schuler, early in the fourth quarter, which removed him from the game, got him tossed, don't help, the Irish defense was once again out of sorts. I mean, there were times where plays were starting that they didn't even look set. That's a problem. 0 pass rush for the second week in a row. Allowed Marcel Reed to do whatever he wanted back there. Sort of like Carson Beck. Now, Reed's a better athlete. Beck's a more polished quarterback, but they had their time. And for Reed, boy, did he have it working with Mario Craver. You talk about the speed Casey Concepcion came in with. Craver had almost 200 yards receiving at the break. The passive approach, once again, by Chris Ash. And I actually want to make sure I remove KVA from this, because that young man played his ass off Saturday night. But the passive approach has made the entire unit a laughingstock. Force-feeding this idea of a constant zone or a consistent zone is not how this group of players, quite honestly, is designed or built to play. And any good coordinator, doesn't matter what level of sport, should adapt his approach to best suit the top abilities of its players. Simply put, the Irish defenders need to get after it, and their head coach has to realize that. We're 2 games in now, and you've been brutal. Not to mention, outside of Leonard Moore and Tay Johnson Saturday night, the secondary was abysmal. Jalen Stroman did not have a good night, and Christian Gray was a disaster. Look, does it happen? Yes, but if it continues, there are going to be serious issues in South Bend if there aren't already, because something's got to change. I mean, we said that after the Miami game, right? Even Marcus Freeman's post-game comments, losing by 3, on a road, top 10 team, it's not a disaster. Good teams lose games too. But now this is another, you talk about opening the game with a block punt, you pound it into the end zone, on the block, scoop and score. You had 6 punts and kicks blocked last year. Now you get another one early. Special teams unit under Biaggi continues to roll. That's great. And then you got a double-digit lead at one point, and things look like you had the momentum. And then the defense just sucks the life out of the building, out of the sideline. And it's miscues, miscommunication. And it's not just the defense, but it's primarily the defense. The icing on that proverbial cake from a defensive standpoint was the final drive. 74 yards, 13 plays, capped off with a 4th down game-winning score from, 11, 12 yards out. I know people are hemming and hawing that there might have been holding at the end. It's not irrelevant, but there was so much that could have happened before that to avoid even being in that situation. And of course, the 41-40 margin existed due to a botched snap on the Irish touchdown on the extra point to drive prior, but they shouldn't have been in that position to begin with. We could nitpick all we want. If Ash's unit doesn't get its collective head out of it, you-know-what, it's a big-time problem. I mean, it's a problem now. And you look at the schedule, ahead, even with games that will look like good resume builders, right? There are a lot of games that I think people were flying under the radar here that, maybe look a little bit different. It's, again, and I'll say it, losing to now 2 top 10 teams to start the season by a combined 4 points really isn't embarrassing. But when you look at some of the things that beat the Irish, silly mistakes, turnovers, penalties, passive approach defensively, the Miami game, the non-existent running game, the constant checkdowns until opening it up actually worked, but it was too late, even though they came back and tied the game. The near disaster at the end of the half, which almost gave Texas A&M the 3 points, where there was miscommunication between Carr and Craig. The play should have been, no matter what happens, you don't snap this ball, CJ Carr. It was a frustration clap. The ball gets snapped. That's miscommunication. And those things can't happen. So you put things there. People are going to love to hammer Marcus Freeman for stuff like that. You put that out there. You coach those things. You are trusting that your guys are going to have this handled. And I got lucky that A&M missed that field goal. It was long enough. It was just wide. So those are the things that are frustrating, because you clean up even 1 or 2 of those things, you're 2-0, 1-1. Sucks. But there are things that have to be cleaned up, and I don't think that there is much argument to that. There were positives, as there generally are. There were in the Miami game. CJ Carr, 20 of 32, 293, and a score in the 1-point loss. But the offense was guided by the run game and much better play up front. You got to give that credit where it's due. Big-time improvement from Rudolph's group. Look, the growing pains with Carr, the bad second pick against Miami, and the indecisive overthrow Saturday night against A&M, along with a few other dangerous passes in that game, I'm not being dismissive of that, they generally would come with the territory, as frustrating as they can be. But when you have what we thought was going to be an elite defense, you generally would have more of an ability to overcome or offset some of those miscues. Carr's got game. He just needs much more support from his D, that we know. Where he did get support Saturday night was from Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price. Both ran the ball exceptionally well and had the Irish looking like a dominant machine. There were moments in the game where A&M's defense, good as they are, looked out of sorts. That's a combination of good quarterback play and O-line play. Yes, but more so an electrifying backfield, and that's what they have. To me, this offense, if what we saw Saturday is now the benchmark, is very legitimate. The connection between Carr and Malachi Fields looked impressive. And while I'd still love to see Jaden Greathouse much more involved, I think we all would, I think you like what you saw overall. Sure, Carr he's going to need to be smarter at times. And he will be. He's the real deal. I think I'm very confident in saying that. But if you continue to get the production out of the backfield, you'll be in fine shape, at least on that side of the ball. 23 carries for Love was great. Another 12 from Price did, as we discussed, basically double their numbers from week 1. Aerial support from Fields, Raritan, another good game. Love had 4 catches and a nice score in the game. Greathouse and Faison is only going to open things up more. If there was a major positive, it was the Irish offense, and to no surprise, it was led by that ground game. I mean, that's going to be your bread and butter. When you have a unit like that, lean on it. Yeah, it gets better with better offensive line play, and you saw that combo last night. I just love the way For as good as Jeremiah Love is, I love the way Jadarian Price runs that football. Pissed off every time he's got the ball, and he goes straight downhill with some damn good speed. You don't get duos like that, and it's just a shame that now you're in the let's dig ourselves out of this hole that got a bit bigger after another gut-wrenching loss this past Saturday. Purdue's up next, and as of the time of the show, you got 5 days to prepare. The Irish hammered the Boilers in West Lafayette last season. This will be the 89th battle for the Shillelagh, now coming back to South Bend. Notre Dame opening as an early 26.5-point favorite in this one, but there's a reason they play the games. The Boilers, now under the direction of first-year head coach Barry Odom, 2-1 on the season. They fell and suffered their first loss Saturday to USC 33-17. ND sees them later in the season, as we know, in October. And if you count 2 vacated wins in 2012 and 2013, the Irish have won the past 9 in this rivalry and 11 of 12 overall, still counting those 2 forfeited wins. But you look at where Notre Dame's, probably owning in on, specifically defensively. Boilermakers quarterback Ryan Brown completed 24 of 39 for 305 in the loss to USC, but he threw 3 picks compared to 1 score. Michael Jackson III, E.J. Horton Jr. were his top wideouts. They combined for, 12 catches on the day. Nitro Tuggle hauled in the only receiving pass. He had finished with 69 yards on 4 balls. Saturday, September 21st, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time start. Anyone attending the game, by the way, feel free to give me a shout. I'll be there. I land Thursday around midnight, leaving after school. And then I'll be visiting some friends on campus, popping in and saying hello to some guys for most of Friday. To say hello to my old buddy, Father Mulroy, and have a nice conversation there. So, and then having hopefully a good old time on Saturday. Weather early reports look pretty good. So if you're going to be in attendance, would love to hang out with you, say hi. I appreciate the support. You guys help me continue to grow the brand. I really, really appreciate it. I continue to enjoy it. It's nice to be able to package these shows coming home from school around my daddy-daughter time and be able to talk about the team that I love the most, but also probably pisses me off the most in Notre Dame football. So have a great rest of your day. Continue recovering from that weekend. Got to move on. It's not a death sentence, but there's a lot of work to be done to get closer and closer to where we want to be. I'll see you all tomorrow. As always, go Irish.